Hey guys, how's it going? So Farfa was asking for really good budget decks, and so I decided to send him this one, which is a Phantasm Spiral deck. I've been playing this deck for over a year now. It came out in Maximum Crisis, I believe. I'm not too sure. Yeah, Maximum Crisis. So it's been quite a while the deck is out. There's been a few cards that came out recently that have been supporting the deck. Not direct support, but it really helped out the deck a lot. So I'll get into the deck list. Doesn't play much extra deck, but so I'll only be showing you a main deck, giving you ideas of what you can put in your extra deck in your side. But so I'm just gonna get right into it. We start off with the 3 copies of Megalo Smasher X. This is the only monster you want to be running in the deck. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be thinking, what about the Phantasm Spiral Dragon? Personally, I think it's a brick, and there are multiple ways of playing this deck. You can play this deck as an OTK deck. You could play it as a very stun heavy lockout deck kind of thing, or you could play a hybrid of both. Personally, I like playing the grind game with this deck, and playing whatever version hurts my opponent the most because my deck is allowed to take it slow and needs to slow down other decks to play at my deck speed. So only 3 Megalo Smasher in the main. Then we go off to the most broken card in the deck, the field spell, Pacifist the Phantasm City. I'm actually going to read you guys this card because otherwise a lot of people don't understand how it actually works. So Pacifist reads, this card's name is always treated as Umi. You cannot normal or special summon effect monsters the turn you activate either of this card's effects. That comes up. That's why we don't play any effect monsters in the deck. Playing effect monsters hurts the deck, which is why we only play the 3 Megalo Smashers. Once per turn, if you normal or special summon exactly 1 normal monster and no other cards, add 1 Phantasm Spiral card from your deck to your hand. If your opponent activates a card or effect except during the damage step, and you control no tokens, you can special summon 1 Phantasm Spiral token, which is a Worm-type Water level 8 with a 2000 attack and defense. So the way this card works, if your opponent activates something, I know the text is written as if it was a quick effect that chains to your opponent's effect, but that is not the case. So for example, if you have your Pacifist face up on the field, and you have your token, and your opponent Regekis you, your token will die, and on resolution, Pacifist will summon another token, because Pacifist, being a field spell, triggers on resolution and does not chain to the effect. So that's something really important to keep in mind with this deck, is the fact that Pacifist does not chain, which actually comes up a lot, and is actually one of the reasons why the card is good. And also, if you summon the token off its effect, it triggers during your opponent's turn and your own to search you a Phantasm Spiral card. So this card is a once per turn, but you're going to be triggering most of the time. Once on your turn, once on your opponent's turn, you're going to be triggering practically every single turn. So Pacifist is the card that makes the deck. So Pacifist, 3 of, mandatory. We're also going to be playing many ways to tutor it out, so I'll get into those right now. We're playing the 2 Terraforming, rest in peace the ban list. One of them died, they used to play 3. You have to see the field spell, otherwise you lose the game. It's really, this deck revolves around the field spell, but you can protect it very well with really good cards. So 2 Terraforming, wish I could play 3, but only 2. The 3 Fossil Dig to search your 3 Megalo Smasher. It comes up. You really want to see the 1 Megalo Smash in your hand with the field spell on your opening turn. It's really good. Then for the draw power, 3 Card of Demise, 3 Pot of Duality. These are mandatory to, you don't special summon much on your first turn especially. You don't special on your turn much. It's really on your opponent's turn you're going to be summoning the token out. So these cards really help with the consistency of the deck, with the 1 upstart as well. We want to play 39 cards because we really need to see the field spell, Megalo Smasher, and 1 card I'll get into later, which is C Stealth Attack. If you see all 3 of those cards, you're basically set up to win the game. So that's a really good, you really want to see those really good cards. Now for the Phantasm Spiral cards, you're going to be searching off the field spell. You got Phantasm Spiral Battle, that I play 3 of, and 2 Phantasm Spiral Power. What these cards do is Phantasm Spiral Battle. If you control only normal monsters, you need to control only normal monsters to activate the card. It's very simple. Target a card on the field, destroy it. So it's kind of like a Trident, but it can target face downs as well. The cool thing about both of these cards is that you can activate them from hand if you control Umi, which Pacifist is treated as at all times. So if you, for example, have your field spell, your opponent activates something, you summon your token out, you can search one of these cards and they're both live because the token's a normal and you control Umi. So you can activate these from your hand. So you can search out a pop, or you can search out your Phantasm Spiral Power, which is kind of like Lost Wind. It targets an effect monster on the field, negates its effect until the end of the turn, and reduces its attack and defense by 1,000 until the end of the turn as well. So both of these are live if you search them off the field spell, which is really good. You can activate them from hand. So if you summon the token, you can either add a negate, add a pop, and it's live for that turn. It's live as long as you control the token. So it's really, really strong. I only play the 2 power because you really want to be, you don't want to draw them that much. You really want to be searching them out when you need them. If you draw one or the other, then it's pretty good because you can just search the second, so you'll have one of each. If you have access to both on one turn, it's really good. You usually go through all 5 in a duel. Honestly, most duels, if your opponent isn't playing some garbage deck, you will go through all of them. But I found out that 3 and 2 is a really good ratio because they're searchable, and like you really don't need to see triple power. Honestly, this ratio is perfect for this. So that's for the Phantasm Spiral cards. Now for what is probably the greatest support this deck has gotten ever. In Legendary Duelist, they released Sea Stealth Attack. This card was not meant to work the way it works with Pacifist, but it does. So I'll explain what Sea Stealth Attack does later on. I'll do like after the deck profile, I'll show the soft lock that Sea Stealth and Pacifist creates together. But Sea Stealth Attack is a mandatory 3 of. I've seen people play 2, I've seen people play 1. I don't understand it. This is the card that you want to see. If your opening hand is Pacifist and Sea Stealth, you're in a really good spot to play the game and make sure your opponent can't out a lot of your plays. So I used a hypergeometric calculator to calculate with the following 3 cards, or 3 metaverse. You have a 70% chance of opening the field spell because we're playing technically 8 copies of it. And because we're playing 8 copies of that and 3 copies of Sea Stealth, which is sadly not searchable, you have I think it's 25% chance to open the field in Sea Stealth, which isn't really that good, but hey, we'll take what we can, right? So the 3 metaverse, this is mandatory. I mean, it's Terraformings to 2, metaverse to 3. You have to see the field spell. Plus, because the field spell is very reactive, this is fine because you can activate Pacifist from your deck. I mean, directly to your field, making your field spell live, and then you can summon your token, go off, and it's just like you had it on your first turn. It's really good. The next card, I've been going back and forth between 2 floodgates. I play the Gozen now. I used to play the There Can Be Only One because the token is a worm and you play Megalo Smasher, which is a dinosaur. I keep going between the 2, but there's always one in the side, one in the main. So right now I'm playing Gozen. I might go back to There Can Be Only One depending on what decks I feel are really a problem. But right now I figure Gozen match is probably the best one, considering Sky Striker is going to be the best deck with Goki, and Gozen hurts both. So I feel like Gozen is a really good pick right now. But of course, Floodgates, you can never really go wrong with them, right? Then we play the 2 Paleozoic Olenoids. The reason why we only play 2 and it's a Paleo, like what the hell is it doing here? Why not just play MST? The reason why is because Anti-Spell and Imperial Order hurt this deck quite a bit. So I'd rather have, like, you can pop with the Phantasm Spiral Battle. So you have right there 3 ways of popping it. And then with the Olenoids, it adds a 4th and a 5th way to pop it. So I'd just rather have that extra back row hate. Plus, the Paleozoics are considered normal monsters when they are summoned. They are treated as normal monsters. So if you summon a Paleo from the grave, it'll trigger Pacifist to add you a card. And it'll also you'll have a normal monster on field. If you didn't draw the Megalo and your opponent's not letting you summon out the token, you can have a normal monster to activate your Phantasm Spiral Battle and your power. So you can make those trap card live because of your Paleozoic Olenoids being a normal monster on the field. So that's a cute little synergy that there is. Champion's Vigilance, 3 of. This is legitimately Solemn Judgment. So we're like playing 4 Judgment in the deck. Champion's Vigilance, you can only activate if you control the token, because it requires that you control a level 7 or higher normal monster, but it's the same thing as Solemn Judgment. So I have a Theme Judgment, and you play 4 of them. So it's really good card. Negates summons and whatever, so it's really strong, and it works really well with the token being a level 8. And then we play the 2 power 1-ofs, the Skill Drain and the Macrocosmos. Skill Drain doesn't hurt you at all, you don't play any effect monsters. And Macrocosmos doesn't hurt you, but it hurts a lot of decks right now. So I find that this is a really good floodgate to have. I mean, if you draw it, it's fine. If you don't draw it, like, who gives a shit? You have other cards that are really good. But in either case, these 2 are very strong cards. So I'm going to explain to you. Actually, for extra deck, if you guys want to, like, just put anything in your extra deck. You can play Lagia and Dolka because of the Megalo Smashers or Dinosaurs. If you ever manage to get 2 on the field, you can go into Lagia or Dolka if you feel. Otherwise, you can play whatever like rank 4s you want to be playing. Personally, I like playing the 1 copy of Cerberus and the 1 copy of Phoenix because just 2 different names, so you can like link this guy with the token, and you can just pop a monster on the field or pop a back row. It doesn't really come up. It's very rare that you'll actually want to summon from the extra deck. But in the case where it turns up, you might as well just have them. So if you have an extra deck, just put it in, but you really don't need one to play this deck. It's really not necessary. For side deck, I've been considering a lot of cards. Like, I've been testing out the Spiritual Water Art Aoi. This is a tribute 1 water monster on your field. Look at your opponent's hand and discard 1 card from their hand. It's pretty strong. It outs like the evenly matched and that kind of stuff because you're a very back row heavy deck, so people will side in the evenlies, but it loses really hard to red reboot. This whole deck does. So I'm considering playing the wiretaps instead of this. So I'm just really showing you options for your side deck. None of this is actually like concrete what you need to play. Like I was telling you before, the 3 copies of There Can Be Only One. This is a very, very good card. It's like Gozen in a way, but I personally prefer Gozen right now, but I really did like this card at one point. And the other card that a lot of people have been telling me I shouldn't be playing, but I find is absolutely amazing, is 3 copies of the Inspector Border. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why are you playing an effect monster if it conflicts with your entire deck? To give you a quick idea, Inspect Border, the reason why I want to be playing Inspector Border in the side, depending on the matchup, like Inspector Border plus Gozen is auto-win against Altergeist. But the reason why Inspector Border is really good in general is because if you make, like, your regular board for this deck is going to be, like, Pacifist, Megalo Smasher, set 3 pass. So if you can make Pacifist, Inspector Border, set 3 pass, what it makes is that it forces your opponent to have to out Inspector Border, and usually no decks can out this without activating an effect. So if they activate something to out your Inspector Border, they're using up a resource, and then they trigger your Pacifist to summon you a token and then search you a card. So in another situation, if you had Megalo Smasher instead of Inspector Border, they would be just outing your board. They wouldn't have to play around the Inspector Border and neg themselves to get rid of it, but now they do. So they're using up a resource, and you're forcing them to trigger your field spell, because if they don't out the Inspector Border, most decks just auto-lose. So if they can't out it, you win, and if they do out it, you net advantage off your field spell, which is why Inspector Border in the side deck is a really, really good option. I wouldn't main it, because I find that just having the Megalo Smasher is more useful in general, but against certain decks that are like auto-lose against this is a really good option. So I'm just going to explain real quick the soft lock that you get when you have Sea Stealth Attack with your Pacifist. So the way, like I explained, the way Pacifist works, if you have Pacifist active on your field, I'll put it over here. If you have Pacifist active on your field and Sea Stealth Attack in your back row, what this creates is it creates a soft lock where your opponent is unable to out the token. So if you have your token on field, the way it'll work, if your opponent pops your token with a card effect like Raigeki, your token will die. On resolution, Pacifist will trigger and will summon your token right back, and then you get a search off Pacifist. If your opponent activates some back row hate, because Sea Stealth Attack's 2 effects are that the first effect, you can banish a water monster you control until the end of the turn to protect your face-up spell traps from being destroyed. The token, you can banish off it for its cost. A lot of people say you can't banish tokens because of evenly matched ruling, but that's because you can't banish them face down. This doesn't banish face down, so you're allowed to banish the token. So at any point during the turn, if your opponent activates anything, you can use Sea Stealth Attack, banish your token, and then the field spell will summon it right back, because it checks on resolution if I have a token or not, because my opponent activated an effect. So if your opponent activates something that pops your token, the field summons it back. If your opponent activates something that would destroy your back row, you can Sea Stealth Attack, banish your token, and then the field spell will summon it right back, and your field spell and Sea Stealth Attack will be protected because it protects face-up spell traps. The last effect that Sea Stealth Attack has is that if a level 5 or higher water monster on your side of the field battles, Sea Stealth Attack destroys the opponent's monster at the start of the damage step. So if your opponent tries to swing over your Phantasm Spiral token, it's a level 8, so Sea Stealth Attack will destroy it at the start of the damage step. So the only ways you can out this soft lock, you can't pop the token by a card effect because Pacifist will summon it out. You can't destroy the back rows because Sea Stealth attack will banish the token to protect them, and then the field spell will summon the token right back. And you can't beat over the token by battle because Sea Stealth attack will destroy your monster. So the only outs to this are you activate something that forces that would force me to activate Sea Stealth attack to banish my token, and then you chain a quick effect back row removal to pop Sea Stealth or Pacifist or both if it's a Twin Twister in this case. You can banish the field spell. Like Cosmic Cyclone hurts this deck quite a bit because Sea Stealth attack only protects from destruction, not banishing. Or if you summon a Towers kind of like monster that can't be destroyed by card effects, then you can just beat over it because Sea Stealth attack won't be able to pop your monster. But a lot of decks struggle to out this. ShiftyBoy.deck does not have an answer to this. There's a lot of decks in the meta struggle to get rid of this. Like Silkwood's Bounce is a problem, but keep in mind that you will be having your Phantasm Spiral Battles to be able to pop cards, or your Phantasm Spiral Powers to be able to negate monster effects. So, like, playing through this soft lock, when you consider that you're getting one of these cards every single turn, like every single turn you'll be searching out one of these because you're summoning your token every turn thanks to Sea Stealth attack in the field. So Sea Stealth attack banish, field summons it right back, and then you get to search one of these. So these are always live when you search them because they go straight to your hand and you control Umi and the token, which is why it's really strong. So this deck has a really, really good matchup against a lot of the decks in the meta right now. And that's why I feel that this is one of the top rogue decks. And if you look at the list, it's really, really budget. The only cards that are slightly expensive, like your Skill Drain, you can get common that costs practically nothing. And other than that, it's just your Card of Demise. Card of Demise is the only money card in the entire deck. And because it got reprinted, it's a lot cheaper than it was when I started playing this deck. The rest of the deck is all commons, rares, a few supers, but very rarely. So this deck is extremely budget. And I hope you guys have a lot of fun playing this deck, because I really do, and I think that it's a very strong deck in the meta right now, especially considering that cards like Widow Anchor can't target any of your monsters because Widow Anchor targets effect monsters only, whereas you only play vanillas, except for your Inspector Border, which is why you don't want to side that in against your Sky Striker opponents. So that's it, guys. I hope you guys like this deck list. I hope Farfa really enjoys posting this list. I know he really, really liked playing against this deck. Hashtag rage quit, if you know what I mean. Otherwise, if you guys want to follow me, you can follow me on twitch.tv/distantcoder, DISTINTCODER, one word. I started on Twitch not too long ago, and I hope to see you guys around. I do a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. I do try to deck build a few rogue decks. I like playing rogue a lot more than playing meta. But that's all for this list, guys, and I hope you enjoy.